Mary is preparing to leave her home of less than a year. She used to own a house but had to leave due to family violence. Now she's worried about affording the rent in outer Melbourne.
I am looking at getting something that is affordable, a lot bigger, so then I'm able to stay there in a long-term situation.
But when she started looking, she struggled to find something suitable in her price range.
The landlords really need to keep the upkeep, so people are feeling safe.
Housing and homelessness services are worried more people will be in a similar situation. From March 31st, people on JobSeeker will no longer receive the $150 a fortnight coronavirus supplement. And in the next few days, a ban on evicting people for falling behind on their rent will end in New South Wales, Victoria and WA.
There's a lot of anxiety in the service sector and amongst our clients about what's going to happen next week.
Even before the eviction ban has been lifted, Nicole Gurran says she's never been busier.
We've been receiving a lot of calls, a lot more calls than probably this time in last year.
She says some tenants who've been asked to vacate are worried about ending up couch surfing or sleeping in their cars.
Even though they might have had some time to find alternate premises, they're just unable to find something that's within the region and within their price range.
The latest research shows this isn't a new situation. In fact, the nation's shortage of affordable rentals available to low-income households has grown over 2 decades. A study by the Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute has found that while enough rentals that would be affordable to low-income households exist, those properties are frequently occupied by people on higher incomes.
Even though the overall size of the rental sector has actually grown because of moderate income people being unable to enter home ownership, the availability of rental properties for lower income earners, particularly that critical to the workforce, has dropped.
The study was conducted pre-COVID, and the pandemic's changed a few things in the rental market. Since international borders slammed shut, turning off the tap on migration and overseas students, many inner-city apartments have sat empty. That's reflected in the latest rental listings data, with listings in Melbourne more than doubling since this time last year. But in other cities, including Perth and Darwin, and in regional areas nationwide, rental listings have tumbled as people move out of the cities.
We've heard again and again up and down the coast of landlords serving no grounds notices, where the tenant hasn't done anything wrong, there's no rent arrears and there's no suggestion of a breach, just so that they can hike the rent up.
But the inner-city homes people have left behind aren't really an option for low-income earners.
We're talking about really high rents coming down to still way too high rents.
All of the signs show that things haven't eased up very much at all.
Bevan Warner is calling for policy reform at the federal level to improve access to housing.
The 40% of people who are in the market to rent are getting pushed further behind, and all we have is incentives for a second or a third home, or to renovate an existing home, or perhaps to build one.
In Melbourne, Launch Housing is helping Mary search for a new place to live.
We've looked at a few properties that are quite cheap, but it's safer too. It's got fences all around it. And that if anything happens, I'm still able to afford that.
Hoping for the right home at the right price.